Ouais, je vais me redécaler là. J'espère que je vais déranger rien. Enfin, je vais rien déranger. Français. Veuillez choisir une langue pour les textes et les sous-titres. Ah, il y a des sous-titres. Vous avez déjà joué à The Stanley Parable? Non, je n'ai jamais joué. Hein? Déplacez le curseur jusqu'à ce que l'ordinateur soit à peine visible. Là, il l'est. À peu près, hein. Entrez l'heure actuelle. Ah merde, ok, c'est en PM. En PM, oh putain. Il est... attends, ça c'est 21h, 22h. Donc 20h... Ouais, il va être 20h30. Attention, moi j'entre vraiment pile poil quand ça passe au 30. C'est bon. Il est 8h30 de l'après-midi. Remarque, les paramètres d'accessibilité sont accessibles depuis le menu principal. Mais c'est quoi? Là j'ai l'impression de régler ma PSP. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Oh! Ça fait sur l'écran de... Sur l'écran là ce que je fais. Je peux genre décrocher les trucs ou pas? Paramètres, je veux juste voir. Audio. Généralement c'est l'audio qui est chiant. Allez, lol.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. This is the story of...
On va mettre 69. On va laisser comme ça. Alors, je sais pas pourquoi, à chaque fois que je vais essayer un truc ou quoi que ce soit, à chaque fois le volume idéal pour moi c'est toujours 69. C'est même pas une blague et tout ou quoi que ce soit en mode 69. Non, c'est vraiment ça. Alors, déjà, s'il te plaît, en avant Z et à gauche Q, on est en AZERTY nous. Bon, après, il n'y a pas l'air d'avoir grand chose. Sauter espace, s'accroupir, contrôle. Ok. Eh bien, on va commencer. The end is never the...
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
C'est l'histoire d'un homme dénommé
Stanley worked
Stanley.
for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee
427.
number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427.
Ça, je l'ai vu dans la vidéo de Jacksepticeye.
Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push,
Quelle touche enfoncer, pour quelle durée et dans quelle ordre.
and in what order. This is what employee
Ça, c'est en
427 did
millisecondes.
every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Donc c'est nous, Stanley.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened.
Plus personne
This
dans
complete
l'entreprise.
isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid,
Est-ce qu'on
Stanley
serait
found
pas
himself
le
unable
1er
to
mai
move for
et
the
que du coup...
longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ok, donc là la voix nous dit on se lève de notre bureau. Oh la vache, et je patine, je cours et je fais des wow, ouais, hey, hey, c'est moi. Tu sais, je glisse avec mes semelles, wouhou, comme dans les couloirs à ton lycée. Wouhou. Attends, je peux. Ça fait des bruits quand j'appuie sur E. Ok. Je peux pas sauter pour l'instant. Bon.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Où
Stanley
est-ce qu'ils sont?
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Oh. Ah non. Non, je viens d'éteindre. Ah merde. Je crois que j'ai éteint l'ordi. Donc il faut que j'aille à la salle de réunion de ce qu'il vient de dire.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the... Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort.
Ah, mais
A
j'écoute
measly
que
5
5 petits
clicks.
clics minables.
Now
1,
suppose
2,
you were to
3,
click the door
4,
20
5.
times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition.
Attends, il y a vraiment un truc à 20 clics de porte.
I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true...
Mais ta gueule! Je fais ce que je veux!
Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks.
Ok, 50 clics. Tu les veux tes 50 clics?
I'm still not feeling it. I want this achievement to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way, no matter what the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417?
20 clics sur la porte 417. Mais elle est où? Ok. Ah. Ah oui, j'éteins les ordi. On gaspille pas l'électricité ici. Alors attends, la porte 417, il faut la trouver. Putain, il y a plein de trucs. En vrai, pour l'instant, je comprends pas trop, mais je trouve ça drôle. Alors 20 fois, il a dit.
Oh, great. Now, go click a few times on door 437.
Oh putain. Allez cliquer plusieurs fois sur la porte 437. Elle est là.
Excellent. I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415. Let's give it 10 clicks or so.
Mais ça sert à quelque chose que je fais ou pas? Il me dit, ouais, va cliquer sur des portes et tout. Là, il y a 417, 416, 415.
Now, back to door number 437.
Oh putain. 437, ok. Est-ce que ça sert à quelque chose que
Let's
je fais?
see. How about you click on, well, I don't know, the copy machine?
Photocopieuse.
All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere.
J'ai l'impression qu'il me prend pour un con. Et que ça sert à rien.
Now go climb on employee 419's desk.
Attends, bureau 419. Il est où 419? Il est là.
Yes, this is great. You're putting it all on the line, Stanley. I like that. All right, let's keep it up. Go give me a few clicks on door 416.
Il m'encourage en plus.
We've almost got it. Now the copy machine, do that one again.
Il devient fou. Allez, vas-y. Attends, elle est où déjà la photocopieuse? Je me souviens plus, elle est où? Elle est là-bas.
Finish it off, Stanley. 5 clicks on door 430. Yes! We did it! Oh, wow. That felt amazing. Oh, you really earned it, Stanley.
Il y a vraiment eu un succès pour ça.
I'm very proud of
Ah, je savais même
how far
pas.
we've come today. Just think, only a few minutes ago, you believed an achievement was worth 5 little clicks. Really now, what were you thinking?
Oh putain. Je viens vraiment de passer mon temps à cliquer sur des portes. Bon, la salle de réunion. Bon bah j'ai eu un succès, mais c'est lui qui m'a dit de le faire. Attends, il y a un café par terre. Je peux le prendre ou pas? Non. I hate Mondays. Je déteste les lundis. Nickel. Parce que c'est les premiers jours de la semaine où...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Décida d'entrer dans la porte de gauche. Ça fait quoi si je vais à droite? Ok, je peux pas revenir en arrière déjà. Gauche, allez. Ok. On sent tout se passe bien. On se balade.
The Yet there was not a single person here either.
Mais où sont passés tous mes employés? Tous les
Stanley
employés, pardon.
decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Comment résoudre une dispute avec un coéquipier? Utiliser des slides pour assurer aux employés que tout va bien. Tout le monde est unique. Et toi plus que tout. Oh, merci. Coucou, Niette. Ok, je croyais que c'était Ginette, mais en mode il y a une faute. Nombre de slides sur cette slide. Chart, slide, chart et slide. Ouais, ok. Bon. Alors, il m'a dit de me rendre au bureau de mon boss. Attends, mais moi je vais regarder un peu ce qu'il y a. Tout à l'heure, j'ai eu un achievement juste en cliquant sur des portes. Cible. Ouais, bon, il y a quand même beaucoup de trucs. J'ai pas envie de m'emmerder à tout lire. N'allez... Ah non, ne pas alter sans consulter le tableau blanc du manager. RIP Franz. Franz est mort. Meeting room. Oui, bah oui, on est dans le meeting room. Je connais pas hein, le jeu. Je me suis pas spoil. Je me suis arrêté sur la vidéo de Jacksepticeye au moment où il arrive dans le bureau de son...
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ok, il faut grimper les marches. Ça serait après de relancer une partie si possible et de faire ce qu'il me dit pas. Genre va à gauche, je vais à droite.
Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Il n'y a pas d'humain.
Unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this.
Où ils
What
sont
dark
tous passés?
secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was
C'est
that
peut-être un jour férié.
behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss
Le chef l'avait même protégé par un code numérique ultra confidentiel.
2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by
Chose incroyable, un appuyant au hasard sur les touches du pavé numérique.
Stanley happened to input the correct code by
Le coup de
sheer
bol.
luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
C'est quoi ça? Ok, donc là, à partir de maintenant, je suis en totale découverte. La vidéo de Jacksepticeye, je m'étais arrêté ici. Là, je sais pas du tout à quoi je vais avoir affaire. On est où là? C'est bizarre. Ok. On va dans les fondations de la SCP Fondation. Loading.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar.
Je me sens
It was a
étrange.
stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job.
C'est quoi? Il y a un second sens derrière ce jeu?
When for years it had never occurred to him. This question would not go unanswered for long.
Ok. Oula. Ouais. Bon bah, pour l'instant c'est un peu bizarre.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Centre de contrôle mental? Quoi? Alors attends. Il vient de me dire d'aller au centre de contrôle mental, mais là il y a marqué échappatoire. Est-ce que je fais confiance à la voix dans ma tête qui me dicte quoi faire, ou est-ce que je prends les devants moi-même et je montre que je suis quelqu'un d'autre? Je ne suis pas un mouton. Je veux faire l'histoire en faisant pour l'instant ce qu'il me dit de faire. Et je dois appuyer?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold?
Bah, pour l'instant c'est juste un peu bizarre, je savais pas, mais bon.
To find out.
Ok. Ambiance chelou, tout va bien. Je dois activer les caméras maintenant. Et ça fait quoi?
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore
C'est
the
tous les
number of an
employés?
employee in the building,
Ah ouais.
Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom
Je suis
meant
observé
nothing.
pendant mon travail. Quelle horrible nouvelle. Il y a même des endroits où c'est marqué genre... Fired, c'est quoi déjà? C'est... Viré. Ah, 234, il y a un souci. Lui, il est pas viré. Attends, mais moi, je veux regarder un peu les écrans. Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Là-haut, c'est quoi d'ailleurs? Quel numéro? Ouais, ok. Il y en a un au-dessus du 1. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Il existe un 600 qui a été viré? Ok, bon, bah, il y a des trucs bizarres.
This mind control facility,
Ce centre
it
de
was too
contrôle mental, c'est
horrible to
trop horrible pour
believe
y
it
croire.
couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated
Ah, ok.
to accept it
Je me disais, il y a une
blindly?
lumière rouge, c'est bizarre. Allez!
No, he refused to believe it. He
Bah
couldn't
si!
accept it. His
J'accepte
own
ça!
life in
Qu'est-ce que tu
someone
racontes?
else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Ok.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Mais pourquoi? Parce qu'on nous observe en train de travailler? Moi, ça me paraît limite legit, c'est genre... Bah après, surveiller 24 sur 24, c'est chiant. Et comment tu veux que je détruise? Main control statut offline. Comment tu veux que je détruise? Il m'a dit qu'il voulait que je détruise. Là-dedans? Bon bah je suppose que ça doit être là-bas. Facility power. 5. Ouais bon, il y a l'air d'avoir des secrets un peu partout. Ça fait limite un peu peur.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Il n'y a plus de son.
Blackness and a rising chill of
Qu'est-ce qui se
uncertainty.
passe?
Was it over?
Attends, ça va pas se finir déjà?
Yes. He had won. He had
Hein?
defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's
C'est tout?
command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not
C'est
knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go.
Par contre, il me casse un peu les couilles là, son
or how to
monologue.
feel.
Je peux parler aussi?
Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin. The feeling of liberation.
Ça fait 28
The
minutes.
immense
Bon,
possibility
ok,
of
on va
a new
tester toutes les
path
possibilités,
before
mais
him. This was exactly the way, right now,
bah, il s'est pas passé grand
that
chose, quoi.
things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Ok. Et alors? Succès déverrouillé, terminer le jeu. Vous avez bien fini le jeu? Bon bah voilà, j'espère que il vous a plu. Non. Oh! Ah.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ah. Étrange. Pourquoi ça m'a ramené là et pas au menu principal? Bon, cette fois-ci, on va pas suivre ce que nous dit la voix. On va oser aller à droite.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
Attends.
he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop
Il se
by the
rattrape.
employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Pour l'admirer. 4B9. Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? Bon, là, on va découvrir une autre partie de l'histoire, du coup.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. But
Non, non.
eager to get back to
Il me dit,
business,
ouais, il reste
Stanley
là-dedans.
took the first open door on his left.
Ça ramène à la salle de réunion. J'ai pas envie. Où est-ce que je suis? Ne mentez pas. Si vous mentez maintenant, arrêtez.
Stanley
D'accord.
was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Il se fout de ma gueule, putain. Ouais, il suit pas les instructions, c'est bizarre, il est toujours pas licencié. Ne sautez pas du cargo. Bon.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact
Non,
is
je
that the
fais ce que
story
je
has
veux, je
been
suis
about
libre.
nothing but
Personne
you
dictera ce que je dois
all this
faire.
time. There's
C'est
someone
moi
you've
qui
been
choisis mon
neglecting,
destin.
Stanley. Someone you
Non,
forgot.
je veux pas t'écouter. La 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 la.
Stop trying to
Bon,
make every decision by yourself. Now,
La
I'm
la
not
la
asking
la
for
la
me,
la la la.
I'm asking for her.
C'est bon.
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your
Qu'est-ce
life.
que tu me proposes?
She's been waiting.
Quoi? Je veux juste aller là? Ok.
That's her, Stanley.
C'est
You
elle.
need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Quoi? Ok, j'ai pris le téléphone et...
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay,
On est
there
quoi?
we
C'est un
go.
flashback?
All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life
Mais
to
ta
you?
gueule! Je peux
I'm
en
trying to
avoir
make a
une!
point here, Stanley.
Là, tu me
Trying
dis,
to
oh,
get you
t'as
to
vraiment
see
cru que t'avais
something.
quelqu'un qui
Come
t'aimait?
inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Non, je me barre!
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
J'ai l'impression que je me fais manipuler là. Je peux vraiment pas me barrer? Aidez-moi! Putain, je suis obligé de rentrer. Je casse les couilles. Quoi? Qu'est-ce que t'as, toi? Hein?
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Bonjour, employé, qu'est-ce que c'est? Appuyez sur O sur votre clavier. Pourquoi je vais appuyer sur O? Et ça fait quoi si j'appuie pas, hein? Ça fait quoi si j'appuie sur toutes les autres touches? Je les ai fait toutes. Hein. Y a rien? Là, vraiment, je viens de toutes les faire. Y a pas un truc caché ou... Je suis obligé d'appuyer sur O.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Veuillez appuyer sur L. Et si je rappuie sur O? Non, ouais, vraiment, il faut que... Faut que j'appuie sur les boutons. Bon, d'accord, j'appuie sur L.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told
Ça a
to
disparu.
do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Appuyer sur G.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk,
Laisse-moi sortir,
Stanley dreamed of wild
démon.
expeditions into the unknown.
C'est moi qui contrôle ma vie, personne ne contrôlera ma place. Je m'en fiche de ce que tu racontes sur ma vie, t'es juste en train de m'humilier tout seul. Je veux créer mon histoire. Veuillez appuyer sur J pour regarder la télévision.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job.
Il n'y a plus de télévision.
First, he imagined that one day while at work,
Putain,
he
mais
stepped up
il me
from his
supprime
desk
tout
to
mon
realize that
potentiel
all
de
his
fun.
coworkers,
Et voilà,
his boss,
c'est ça la vie, des
everyone
gens
in
qui
the
dictent
building
quoi
had
faire.
suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Puis sortez pour passer du bon temps entre potes. Oh oui.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions
Plus
would
ça va,
mean
moi je peux me
something was
déplacer.
almost too wonderful to
Allez,
uphold.
dépêche-toi, je m'en branle. I pour préparer le dîner,
As he
vas-y.
wandered through this fantasy
Ah bah
world,
tiens,
he began to fill it with many possible paths and
ça commence à ressembler à mon
destinations.
bureau.
Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many
Ligne
directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Appuyez sur H pour lire une histoire aux enfants. Tiens,
It was
voilà.
such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over,
peut pas
wishing
sortir,
beyond
c'est chiant.
hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path.
Qu'est-ce que je
Mustn't
peux
there be?
faire?
Perhaps if he played just
Bien
one
avoir
more
un truc à
time.
faire.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be?
J'ai enlevé ma
In
femme.
reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets. The more he forgets which life is the real one.
Ça me saoule là. Appuyez sur O pour aller vous coucher. Oh oui.
And I'm trying to tell him this. That in this world he can never be anything but an observer.
Qu'un
But as long
observateur.
as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself.
Connard, viens là, je te prends quand tu
He
veux.
won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley. the
C'est la
next
prochaine
time the
fois
screen
que l'écran
asks
vous
you
demande
to
d'appuyer
push
sur
a
une touche,
button,
ne le faites pas.
Do not do it.
Bah tu sais quoi, je vais le faire. Hop.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Pour ne rien remettre en question. Ça fait quoi si j'appuie pas? J'ai pas envie d'appuyer. Vas-y. Tu fais quoi? Je reste AFK. C'est donnant-donnant, hein. Qui va craquer le premier? Bon.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to.
J'en ai
I
marre.
must.
Laissez-moi sortir!
Perhaps- Well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again.
Veuillez mourir.
And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again. and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Je suis mort. Je suis mort. Ok.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
Bon allez, on
Perhaps
va
he had
à
simply missed a
la
memo.
salle de réunion. On va essayer un peu tout. Hein.
When Stanley came to a set of two open
Parce
doors,
que moi je veux me
he entered
rendre
the door
à
on his
l'endroit où
left.
c'était marqué Escape.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Ah ouais, speedrun ce jeu
Feeling
ça
a
doit être
wave of
rapide.
disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office.
quoique.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Oula. Je suis plus trop sûr là.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why
Là
had he
c'est encore
taken
nouveau.
that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself,
Tu peux
maybe
jouer
I
et tu peux
am
arrêter de
crazy.
me
All of my
parler.
co-workers blinking mysteriously
Alors moi c'est
out of
chiant que quelqu'un
existence in a
parle
single
par-dessus.
moment for no
Ta
reason at all.
gueule.
None of it made any logical sense. And as
Vous ne
Stanley
pouvez pas
pondered
sauter
this, he
si
began
c'est
to make
déverrouillé.
other strange
D'accord.
observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter,
leur pose des
these
questions
rooms were
intéressantes,
starting to
dis donc.
look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
Putain!
Now the voice
Elle peut
was
pas se taire,
describing
cette voix.
itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts.
C'est chiant!
And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin. The press of the mattress.
Je voulais pas continuer en mode, ouais, je vais attendre qu'il finisse, mais il finit jamais ce connard.
Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over.
J'aimerais bien que ta voix aussi elle
my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be
Personne n'est
fine.
normal.
I am okay.
Yes.
Stanley began screaming.
Non.
Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss.
Ah,
I have
arrête
an
de
office.
mettre une
I
musique
am real.
stressante.
Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Ok.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Hein?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got
Pourquoi une
dressed,
femme maintenant?
gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension,
Pas
the
bouger.
rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring
C'est juste
down
un
at the
rêve, on est
body,
complètement fou.
and then she
Stanley
turned
est
to
fou.
the man.
C'est juste ça. Et on recommence, ouais, c'est parti. Donc on est juste dans un rêve, c'est pour ça qu'il n'y a personne.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Ouais, je la connais
What could it
l'histoire.
mean?
Bon là on va aller
Stanley
jusqu'au
decided to
escape
go
que
to the
j'avais
meeting
vu.
room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Eh, le jeu il est bien.
When Stanley
Je le
came
trouve
to
très
a set
cool.
of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ouais, par contre la voix dans la tête elle est extrêmement chiante au bout d'un
Yet
moment.
there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ah. Pour être riche, est-ce un crime? Pour commettre des crimes, n'est-ce pas riche? Quoi? Je peux rien faire ici? Ça sert à rien? Bah c'est nul. Et là, il y a quoi? Oh là. Le tableau, il est un peu... Ok, j'appelle l'ascenseur. Et je me barre. C'est moi maintenant qui choisis ma vie. Bon bah voilà. On attend patiemment dans l'ascenseur. Je sais pas où il va nous mener par contre. Hein. C'est long. C'est chiant. Je m'emmerde. Mais il y a un truc. Je peux pas le prendre. Il y a aussi des trucs. Non, je peux pas les prendre. Je devais appuyer. Je décide d'aller en bas. J'ai l'impression que je peux pas me barrer. C'est quand même bizarre, non? Bon bah on va aller dans le bureau du boss.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Ça fait quoi si je
What
sais
could it
pas,
mean?
si
Stanley
j'appuie
wondered
pas là-dessus?
aloud to nobody.
Qu'est-ce que je
He
peux
began
faire?
wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk,
Attends, il y avait un truc
pulling
dispo
books
là.
off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his
Je peux pas
situation.
utiliser ça?
But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its
C'est quoi
purpose
déjà? C'est
be?
2, 4, 8, 5?
In fact, this
2, 8, 4,
keypad
5.
guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number,
2, 8, 4, 5, ok.
2845.
On
But of
retient.
course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Ouais. Ça fait quoi si je le mets pas?
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
J'ai pas envie de faire la combinaison, je veux voir ce qu'il y a d'autre. Qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire d'autre?
2845.
Ça me rappelle, tu sais, There is no game. Il va me le répéter en boucle ou pas?
Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's
Le
emergency
système d'urgence de
override
panneau
kicked
se
in,
déclencha.
and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Bon, ok, il le met de lui-même. Je décide d'aller en bas. Ok. Bon bah il le fait de lui-même finalement si on le fait pas. C'est chiant. Alors ici, maintenant, où est-ce qu'on peut faire d'autres fins alternatives?
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that
Bon,
read
ça, je m'en
Mind
souviens.
Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Une mort violente au bout de ce passage. C'est
The
backrooms
door
un peu.
behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to
Oui,
walk
je
forward
souhaite aller
and
tout droit.
willingly confront his death.
J'y vais. Je m'en fiche. Oui, je vais peut-être mourir, mais bon.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know
Je
the
peux pas
real
bouger.
story,
Je suis
trapped
coincé dans
forever
mon
in his
truc, là.
narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss.
Je peux pas mourir. Je suis trop jeune pour mourir.
And so he resigned
Non.
and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Non, 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 non. Oh,
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator,
Quoi?
as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Quoi? Mais attends, mais il y a une deuxième voix qui est venue me sauver. Madame, je vous remercie. Je vais aller par là.
And yet it would be just a few
J'avance
minutes
plus.
before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to
Il y a un
accomplish?
deuxième narrateur.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Ah, il était déjà mort. Et c'est quoi? C'est la vraie fin, celle-ci? Ordinateur de bureau. Il présente vraiment tout. Donc voilà, on est mort. Les deux portes. C'est là les deux portes. Ok. Ça nous explique vraiment tout. Tableau de paysage. Ordinateur de Stanley. Plan du bureau. Ce plan vous montre le bureau au début de la partie. Le chemin entre le bureau de Stanley et les deux portes est le tout premier chemin conçu dans le jeu. Les sections ont été ajoutées et modifiées au cours du développement, mais l'organisation générale est restée presque inchangée depuis la première itération. Couloir. Ok. Et là, c'est fini. Le bureau. Et je peux faire quoi? Son de bouton. Ok. Ça fait un peu Portal. C'est quoi? C'est juste un musée? Et là, du coup, je suppose que c'est tous ceux qui ont développé, enfin, qui ont travaillé sur le jeu. Et c'est pas la dernière fin. C'est la dernière fin. Il y a d'autres fins, non? Salle de maintenance. Ok. C'est juste un grand musée. Je peux me balader dans un grand musée. Zone de guerre. Ah! Donc il y avait une fin possible où Stanley pouvait se retrouver sur un champ de bataille. Ok. Et je dois faire quoi à part visiter ce musée? Je me fais chier quoi. C'est quoi ça? Modèle de fin relaxante. Ok. Je comprends pas trop. Hein? Quoi? Bureau du compte à rebours. Quoi? Je comprends rien. Ascenseur dans la salle des écrans. Ouais. Mais je dois faire quoi? S'ennuie un peu. Putain, il y a vraiment un bruit ici. Novembre 2011, 2012 et le troisième de 2013. 2012, 2013. Ok. Mais je... Comment je quitte? Je peux faire échappe et recommencer le jeu? Exit. Ok.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Je les
Can you
active.
see? Can you see how much they need one another? No,
Quoi?
perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
Oh
Listen
non!
to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as
Bah, je
you
le
move
ferai
forward,
après.
you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever
Non.
you do, choose it. Don't let
Allez,
time
j'accepte ma
choose
mort.
for you. Don't let...
J'ai accepté. Personne ne me l'enlèvera. Non, voilà. Ah, mon bureau. Yes. Donc, il y a une deuxième voix off. Ok. Il y a quoi d'autre comme fin? Attends. Je vais voir s'il y a d'autres fins, parce que là, du coup,
All of
j'ai
his
fait toutes
co-workers
celles
were
que
gone.
j'imaginais, mais
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he
peut
had
pas y en
simply
avoir
missed a
d'autres,
memo.
si. Parce que là, j'ai fait... Attends, j'ai fait combien de fins? La première où j'ai tout suivi. La deuxième, je suis allé à droite. La troisième, je suis descendu. La quatrième, j'ai pris escape. Il y en a 4? Il n'y en a pas que 4.
When Stanley came to a
À
set
mon
of
avis, ça va
two
être plus
open
par là qu'il y
doors,
aura
he
plus
entered the door on
de
his
fins
left.
différentes. Je vais voir combien il y a de fins.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief,
Il y a peut-être
Stanley
une fin si
decided
jamais
to
tu
go
restes
up
dans
to
ton
his
bureau et que tu
boss's
sors pas.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Bon, je vais voir. Et ça fait quoi si je mets
The
avant
moment
qu'ils
he
le
entered his
disent?
manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk.
Eh ouais, pas le temps.
That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age music.
Quoi? Waouh! Hawaï! Les profondeurs des océans.
Feeling soothed
À présent
and
calme et comme
rejuvenated,
revigoré.
Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Ok, il y a quand même des trucs si jamais genre tu te presses et tout. Je vais voir ça fait quoi si tu te presses et tout. Si vraiment tu te dépêches à fond. Est-ce que le narrateur au bout d'un moment il va en avoir marre? Ou... Non, je pense pas que ce soit
Stanley
une fin
walked straight ahead
différente.
through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Je sais pas du tout. Genre je vais appuyer sur le bouton. Ah bah non, il me dit pas genre il va appuyer sur le bouton désormais ou...
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens.
Je suis
What
obligé
horrible
d'attendre.
secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Il n'y a pas d'autre fin possible?
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The
Mais il y a
lives
de
of
fin,
so
ouais.
many
Parce
individuals
que là, du
reduced
coup,
to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Non, continue de parler, je veux pas que tu t'arrêtes.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible.
Ah
to
si,
believe
après
it
c'est
couldn't
le
be
truc
true. Had
de
Stanley really been under someone's control
l'électricité,
all
ça fait
this
quoi si
time?
j'appuie sur on?
Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Moi je veux voir.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life
Qu'est-ce
in
que je peux
someone
faire comme
else's
fin possible?
control?
Faudrait que je vois après
Never. It was
combien il y a de fins au
unthinkable,
total.
Wasn't it? Was it even possible?
Ça se trouve en
Had
cherchant
he
même
truly
je vais faire la
spent
fin de
his
la
entire
FK.
life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions.
Ça fait quoi si je vais là?
Happy or sad or content.
Attends, il y avait pas un truc
Eating,
genre 1, 2, 3,
working,
4, 5?
all of it monitored and commanded from this very place.
Oui.
And as the cold reality
Un,
of his past began to sink in,
deux.
Stanley decided that this machinery would never
Il est où
again
le 3?
exert its terrible power over
Peut-être
another
là-haut.
human life.
Je peux pas aller là-haut.
For he
Ok.
would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Ouais. Là il y a le 5. Là-haut c'est le 4. Et il est où le 3? Attends, on doit bien y avoir un 3. Je peux pas ouvrir cette porte? Non. 1, 2. Il est où le 3? Ça alors? Normalement, il devrait y avoir un 3. Il doit bien y avoir un truc à faire ici, ça sert pas à rien. Celui-là, il y a le 5. Là-haut, il y a le 4. Il y a vraiment pas de 3? Console disable. Je vais vraiment voir ça fait quoi si j'appuie sur on. Je vais attendre quand même qu'il finisse de
And when
parler.
at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go. Turn the controls
Ok,
off.
nouvelle suite.
If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy
Maintenant,
it.
à mon avis, il va
Mere
falloir faire le 1, 2, 3,
moments until the
4,
bomb
5.
goes off.
Mais
But
il est
what
là.
precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you,
Ok, c'est ouvert.
about me, where we're going.
Non, non, non,
What
non,
all this
non.
means, I barely know where to start.
2.
What's that?
En 2 minutes, je sais
You'd like
pas.
to know where your co-workers are.
On va
A
voir.
moment of solace before you're obliterated.
3.
All right, I'm in a good mood.
Ok,
You're
là
gonna
c'est
die
marqué.
anyway.
1 minute
I'll
20.
tell you exactly what happened to them.
Faisable.
I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of
Je m'en
course,
branle
that
de ce que
was
tu me
merely
dis.
in this instance of the story.
4.
Sometimes when I tell it,
Reste plus que
I
le
simply
5.
let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground.
Si j'appuie sur 5 là, normalement tout va s'arrêter.
Or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go.
J'ai fait le 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But I'm
Pourquoi ça
sure
s'active
whatever
pas?
I come up with on the next go around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so
Je comprends pas
much.
ce qu'il faut que je fasse.
You know what?
Je suis sûr, il y a un
Hell
truc
with
là à
it.
faire.
I'm going to put some extra
Ah, mais attends,
time
c'était
on
pas
the
ouvert.
clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees.
Non.
Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley?
Ça se trouve
Is it
c'était
that you
ouvert
have
là.
no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now?
Attends, pourquoi il reste 1
Or
minute
did you just
38?
assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in
dire
this
la
room.
réponse.
These numbered buttons. No, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button. Or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? One
Ouais.
solved?
Je pense
Do
que
you
je peux le
have
vaincre.
any
Je
idea
peux te
what your
vaincre.
purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for
J'ai
quite
fait
a
le 1, 2, 3, 4,
disappointment.
5.
But
Ça
here's
fait
a
rien.
spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble.
Je dois appuyer sur le 3.
This is not a challenge. It's a
Attends, je
tragedy.
vais voir si je dois
You
appuyer sur,
wanted to
si je dois
control
appuyer sur le
this
3.
world, that's
Parce qu'il y a
fine.
tous les écrans qui me disent
But
appuyer
I'm
sur le
going to
3.
destroy it first, so you can't.
J'appuie sur le
Take a
3.
look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds.
Goodbye
you
and
have
pray
left to
427.
strike. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling
Ça, je peux pas
desperately to your
l'utiliser.
frail life, or will you let it
Bien,
go
tu dois bien
peacefully?
avoir un truc à faire.
Another choice. Make
Qu'est-ce
it
que je peux faire ici?
or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say happily ever after.
Ok, il doit y avoir un truc à faire. Je suis sûr il y a un truc à faire là. C'est pas normal que ça se finisse juste sur un... un truc comme ça. Je vais me renseigner YouTube. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Toutes les fins. Farod. Il met pas les fins. Attends, je vais regarder. Là, il fait quoi? Attendez, je vais regarder. Hein. Il appuie juste sur off. Ouais, il appuie juste sur off. Attends, mais il est arrivé à des trucs, je sais même pas comment il a fait. Ah. Mais il a pas fait la fin de là ce que je viens de faire. Attends, mais il est parti dans des délires lui. Il a un seau. Jusqu'où il est parti? Pourquoi il a un seau lui à chaque fois? C'est quoi, on va faire la fin que je viens de voir.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
C'est quoi ça? Je savais pas ça avant. Où est-ce qu'il m'emmène? Je voulais faire ce que j'avais vu, mais bon bah... On va faire ça avant.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers.
Non, je savais pas.
After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for
J'ai
consoles
vraiment
and
l'impression
home
d'être dans un
computers.
style à la Portal.
The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over.
Ok, pour l'instant je suis juste dans une petite attraction tranquille pépouse. Où est-ce que je suis?
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Ok.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure.
Ah mais il fait le live à ma place. Eh, vas-y hein, si tu veux
adventure.
faire les trucs. Hein. Lance ta chaîne Twitch.
Is it broken? What's going
Je me
on
posais la
here?
même question, je me suis dit
Should
bah
we-
on devrait partir là,
Should
non?
we be moving somewhere oh,
Ah, bah,
there we
c'est
go.
bon.
All right, finally.
Mais ta gueule,
Long
c'est
bus,
moi.
it's on to the new
C'est à moi de
content.
commenter, pas
I've
toi.
never been more ready. Let's do it.
Ouais bon, on est deux excités à savoir ce qui va se passer. Enfin excités. Hâte de savoir.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable.
Non mais
Ultra
c'est bon,
Deluxe
on va...
mostly
Attends,
tedious. It's as
ouais.
if,
Il est pressé.
Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Quoi? Ah derrière moi, oh putain. Je l'ai pas vu. Quoi?
All right. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
C'est nul. Ils ont juste sauté dans un cercle 36 fois. Bah, je vais le faire, mais bon. C'est tout?
Is that it? Surely that's not all.
Il dit les mêmes choses que moi.
There has to be something else, right? Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley,
nul.
I have to say,
Tu me fais
initial
chier.
impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes
Ce
for
nouveau
exciting
contenu
new
palpitant.
content?
Ah bah là
If
ouais,
this
je
is
suis
new
complètement
content,
d'accord avec
why
la
don't
voix
you
dans
just
ma
read
tête
through
qui
the
me
whole
dicte quoi
dictionary?
faire.
There's 20 hours of new content right
20
there.
heures de nouveau
Hell, I
contenu
could
là.
counter 30 trillion.
Comptez
You could
jusqu'à
put that
30
on the
milliards.
box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000
C'est
hours
ouais.
of new content. And if... Oh wait, there's more. Very
Bah
good.
oui, il y en a plus.
Yes. I knew
Écrit
there had
quoi?
to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens
Bah oui, on est
when
d'accord.
greedy video game developers with no respect for
C'est
their
tout.
fan base
J'en
rush
veux
a cheap
plus.
expansion to market for no
Donnez-moi-en
reason other
plus,
than
là.
to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started
C'est
on the
bon.
level of craftsmanship that's
Y a
gone
pas
into
que
it.
ça,
In fact,
c'est une
I'm looking
blague.
right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to
J'imagine que
believe
c'est
one
pas
of
que
them
ça.
actually says test achievement, please ignore. What quality assurance department signed off on this?
Fais-moi sortir de là,
I'm
voir, s'il te
infuriated
plaît.
and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable.
Ah, il va s'énerver sur Twitter.
It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me,
Je suis en
why don't
train
we
de
just
jouer.
reset
Fais-moi
the game,
sortir la voix dans ma
and we'll
tête.
try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No
Oui,
frills,
oui.
no gimmicks. Just you and me
Laisse-moi
having a great
sortir.
time together like always.
Allez, on
What do
s'est
you
bien
say,
marré.
friend?
J'ai une autre chose à faire. Ça, c'est vraiment juste ça. Bon bah. Attends 5 secondes. Il y a quelque chose qui a changé, non? C'est pas comme ça.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Quoi? Qu'est-ce qu'il... Où est-ce que je m'engouffre là?
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to
Ouais.
be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret.
Quoi?
Take a
Bah,
look.
attends, mais c'est quoi?
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley
The
Parable
Memory
on
Zone.
PC.
Quoi?
You see, Stanley,
Ah,
doesn't the Memory
2013,
Zone remind
quand
you
Stanley
of how
Parable a
wonderful Stanley Parable
été...
was before it was sullied with a
est
cheap
sorti.
re-release? Remember back in October of 2013?
Je
when the game
Non, je me
originally
souviens
launched?
pas de Stanley
Back
Parable,
then,
j'ai
video
jamais vu.
games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something.
Il y a un
Oh,
dollar
yes.
encadré. Ah, on a gagné un peu d'argent. Ouais, bah tu te souviens peut-être de 2013, mais moi 2013, j'avais pas trop vu sur YouTube Stanley Parable. J'étais plus sur Fanta et Bob en 2013.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like
10
this
sur
stunning
10.
triumph of games
Don't read any
journalism,
reviews
10
except
out
this
of
one.
10 from Destructoid.com.
J'ai l'impression qu'ils l'ont bien aimé.
Sterling writes, and I quote, "We're so many games that
Fantastic
aspire to be
Arcade
more than
2013.
games, end up less than any form of
Indiqué
art.
2012 spécial
Stanley Parable
recognition.
strives and then succeeds to be every game
Si c'est les
ever
vrais titres, par
created.
contre,
Did you hear that,
ça a l'air
Stanley?
pas mal.
Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was
Skyrim.
It was
Ouais,
Persona
Skyrim à l'époque
3.
quand même
It was
c'était assez
all of
gros.
them. And now, it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an
Okay.
hour of new elevator content.
Ouais, 2013, ça date un peu. Et je dois aller où? En bas ou... Attends, mais c'est fermé là-haut? Ah non, c'est derrière moi que c'est fermé. Personne de l'année. Flotter. Et...
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com.
Ils mettent vraiment les reviews de 2013. Mais ouais, mais 2013, moi je regardais Fantabok Show, là, tout ça. Sifano, Frigiel, à l'époque, c'était cool. Je regardais pas trop Multigaming. À la limite, leurs vidéos sur Payday 2, Fanta et Bob, mais ou Starbound. Mais sans plus, quoi. J'avais pas vu passer The Stanley Parable. À mon avis, c'est plus les Américains qui ont fait Stanley Parable. En France, la salle sérieuse. Bah, t'es sympa, toi. Comment je fais pour y accéder? Je suis obligé de retourner en arrière.
These were simpler times, Stanley. What I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no, oh, God no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine
Steam
what's been
reviews,
collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Ouh, ça va pas être beau.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full
Il est en train de lire, hein, ce
the
qui a marqué.
narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny!
Pas drôle.
Trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a
En 2013, il y avait beaucoup de jeux classiques sur la Wii. Ils mettaient tous dessus, et il y a la Wii U qui commençait à arriver, je crois, en 2013. Je me souviens plus. Et qu'on était en mode ouah et tout, on teste, et au final, c'était un gros flop, mais on le savait pas encore à l'époque.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy.
Je suis devenu pote maintenant avec la voix off. Ouais, je suis assez d'accord avec toi et tout. 2013.
You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it.
Ouais, je m'ennuie un peu, moi.
But maybe it wasn't.
Tu peux me faire avancer?
What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable.
Mais après, faut quand même qu'il y ait des mauvaises critiques. S'il y a que des bonnes critiques, c'est pas normal.
Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling. What's this one got to say?
Vas-y.
You constantly have to stop doing
Vous devez tout le temps arrêter de faire ce... Parce que le narrateur a le temps de déballer ses explications interminables.
I wish there was a skip button.
C'est vrai qu'il y a un bouton de skip.
Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'll do anything for the customer, Stanley.
Il y avait même plus les sous-titres.
We shall have.
Un bouton de skip.
And here it is. Go ahead.
Quoi?
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games.
Je m'en branle.
Well, there, sport. You really did catch
Vous avez pris en flagrant délit d'élucubration, n'est-ce pas? Telle est la force de ce bouton.
I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well,
Bien, la durée est bien.
I would say maybe 30, 45
Je m'en branle. Je fais que skip.
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours.
12 heures.
You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh my goodness.
Plus ça va, plus c'est long.
Stanley, I think it's been
Une semaine.
Or 2 weeks.
Et là, ça va faire plusieurs années.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about...
Alors, ça fait quoi si je fais que skip? Il n'y a plus personne. Il me parle même plus. Il n'y a plus de voix off. Je skip. C'est horrible. Pourquoi il y a ça?
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to
Je
the
suis là,
human
hein, mec.
condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, enter.
Bon. C'est quand la fin? Je commence à m'emmerder un peu. Ok, j'ai appuyé plein de fois et tout. On est en quelle année? Attends, il doit y avoir peut-être un truc derrière. C'est pas possible. Y a rien. Je veux juste être là dans cette salle et appuyer sur le bouton skip en boucle. Mais c'est quand que ça s'arrête?
Is never the end, 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 is never.
Il est devenu complètement taré. Des fois il parle même pas. Il est juste là, bon bah. Combien de temps ça va durer? Oula. Le temps est en train de détruire la salle. Un bouton de skip encore? Ok. Ça fait combien de temps qu'on est enfermé dans cette pièce? Extrêmement longtemps. Je peux pas grimper et m'enfuir? Pas encore. Peut-être après. Faut que je skip encore du temps. Oula. Je sais pas ce qui se passe, mais bon, c'est très spécial, hein. Skip, skip, skip. Ça me fait peur. Oh non. Oh, j'avais pas vu. Est-ce que je peux skip encore? Non. C'est fini, je peux plus skip. Combien de temps je suis resté enfermé? Waouh. L'humanité a disparu. Nous sommes en l'an 55 167. Il n'y a plus rien. Que du sable. Même pas l'an 55 000, ça me paraît encore trop proche pour que ce soit ça. Ah, on est revenu.
The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone ever again.
Attends, le dialogue il a changé là. Attends, mais il y a des salles qui vont s'ouvrir au fur et à mesure ou... New content.
Oh, good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Qu'est-ce qu'il a encore? C'était pas assez visible, hein. Vas-y, montre-moi. Qu'est-ce que t'as créé?
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was
Ouais, mais la dernière fois, j'étais en l'an 55 000, l'humanité avait disparu et il y avait plus que du sable.
I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever
En exclusivité
the
mondiale.
Stanley Parable 2.
Stanley Parable 2.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Stanley Parable 2.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figured that if I
tapis
can
rouge
loosely
et tout.
organize a handful
C'est
of
moi la
interesting
star aujourd'hui.
concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally
Ah,
spring
si je
up
pouvais me prendre
around
en
them.
selfie là.
It'll all work itself
Enfin,
out.
les photographes
Game
et tout.
development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Bah, on va voir. Et hop, c'est Cannes. Waouh.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Wow. Ah ouais. Le bouton qui dit le nom du joueur qui est en train de jouer au jeu. Et on va voir plein de trucs. C'est là-haut. Putain, mais c'est une convention ou quoi?
I asked myself, what do players really want?
Too big, too small,
And of
just
course,
right.
The first and most obvious
Trop
answer
gros, trop
is that they
petit.
want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my
Donc,
first
tu
addition
veux
to the game
savoir
is this
quel est
button,
mon nom.
which speaks the name of the person playing the game.
Je connais
Isn't
mon
that
nom.
wonderful?
Est-ce qu'il va le connaître?
Jim. Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here,
Bah, je
let's
m'appelle
have
pas
you
Jim.
roleplay as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine... Jim. Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim,
Vous n'incarnez pas
you'll never
suffisamment Jin.
understand the impact of this button. Otherwise,
Mais
it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this
Non,
time
je vais
let
le
me
faire
finish
rapide.
first.
Non.
Now, allow yourself to become
Je suis pas
Jim.
Jim, je m'appelle pas Jim.
All right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now? Get
Oui,
out
c'est
of
pas
here.
mon nom.
I'm
Je
done
m'appelle
with
pas
this
Jim.
button. Why don't you go
Il aurait pu dire
humiliate
Blast
me
à la
in front of
place.
a different feature that I worked very hard on? Jim. See, if you'd only played along, that would have been your name the button says, but no. Instead, oh,
Je peux faire autre
I
chose,
can't
s'il vous plaît.
even
Ah
think
si, je
about
peux
it.
sortir.
I'm taking the Jim button away.
Ah mais c'est pas grave, moi je vais tester les autres fonctionnalités là. Mais on dirait vraiment une convention américaine et tout. Enfin, dans ma tête, c'est à ça que ça ressemble.
Maybe I'll only let people named Jim play the Stanley Parable 2. They would appreciate what I've created here.
Ça c'est quoi? C'est juste un couloir? Bon bah c'est nul alors. Cercle pour sauter, trou sans fond, le bouton qui dit le nom du joueur qui joue au jeu. Ok, bon on va aller voir là-bas. Les cercles qui sautent, je connais ça. Ah, ça tourne. Mais en vrai, s'il y a un bâtiment qui est comme ça dans la vraie vie, je te jure que je suis à l'intérieur, je suis vraiment en mode... Waouh. Trou infini, ça ne finit jamais. On va aller voir les trous infinis. C'est où les trous infinis? No screenshot. C'est quoi ça d'abord? Je veux voir. Mais il y a trop de trucs en fait.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Le blanc.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is.
Bon, ok, super. Tu me demandes de choisir. Oh, mais il l'a rajouté sur toutes les photos.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No. No, I've made
Attends,
my
mais du
decision.
coup, je suis
We're
pas allé au
moving
trou
on.
infini. Je veux voir les trous infinis. C'est quoi ça? Free, new, plus easy, achievement. Ouais, je verrai après. Par contre, ça va prendre une plombe à tout regarder. Je regarde même pas ce qu'il y a sur les murs, hein, vraiment. C'est speedrun.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's
plaît
never been
beaucoup.
done before in a video game. This is
Jamais
in fact
proposé.
a hole
J'ai
that
un
you can
doute, hein.
fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Ok, je suis obligé de tomber dedans. Ça fait quoi si je tombe dedans?
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue on.
J'ai sujet pour revenir à la surface. Mais on tombe vraiment à l'infini?
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it
Pourquoi?
on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
Pourquoi ça fait quoi si je le fais pas? Si je... Vas-y, je le fais pas.
Okay, Stanley. I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible
Il est
that I
possible que j'ai un peu
slightly
exagéré
exaggerated
concernant
the
la nature
infinite
infinie du
nature of the
trou.
hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone
Ouais.
to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the
Yes.
issue here is just that
C'est pas un
you're
trou
unusually
infini,
fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely?
Personne normale
I
voudrait
figured
tomber
the hole was
indéfiniment.
as deep
Non mais
as
c'est juste, je me
anyone
suis
would
dit qu'il y avait une
actually
fin
need.
quoi.
Don't you
C'est
put
normal.
this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things.
Je
we
savais qu'il y
didn't
avait une
mean.
fin, c'est pas
Why
normal
don't
sinon.
we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the whole
Quasi sans fond.
mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go
Bah,
ahead,
c'est
press
juste
the
un
teleport
trou avec un
button
fond
to
quoi.
walk up to the top of the
Il
hole
est pas
and
quasi
move
sans fond.
on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Allez.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Ah, du coup il a renommé en trou presque infini. Est-ce qu'il a renommé vraiment partout? C'est quoi là-haut? Je sais pas. Je sais pas s'il l'a renommé. Est-ce qu'il a vraiment renommé partout le trou presque infini? Ouais, vraiment. Ah non, mais ça j'ai déjà vu. Ah, je suis con. Bon, je vais voir si c'est achievement facile.
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yeah, okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley.
Pourquoi je peux
But I
pas...
guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel. To at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously
Je peux
demanding
avoir
this
mon
feature.
achievement, s'il te
Gamers,
plaît?
we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Nous avons compris. Ça fait quoi si j'essaie? En boucle. C'est tout? Y a rien de plus? Non, on doit bien avoir quelque chose. Bon bah je me barre. J'ai compris. Nickel. Attends, je vais juste voir un truc. Ouais, c'est bon.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Il y avait un truc de saut. C'est où? Ah non, quoique collectible. Ah ouais, il y en a des choses, hein. Collect them all. Wow.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect
Ça
all
fait
of
un
them
peu
and
flipper
then you move the
ce
hell on with your
truc.
unremarkable life.
0 sur 6, 1 sur 6. Putain, c'est vraiment... je dois tous les récupérer. Collect them all. Ah ouais. Bah ok.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely
Là-bas c'est quoi?
tragic.
Sortie. Ah non. Mais il y avait d'autres trucs là. Ouais, le saut. Après le cercle pour sauter, je l'ai pas encore
Calling it
trouvé.
the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe.
No screenshot.
What does it even
Ah, ça du coup je l'ai
mean?
vu.
But the Stanley
Je vais voir c'est
Parable
quoi ce
2,
truc de saut.
now that's a common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in
Bah, il est
those
pas là,
who
le
played
saut.
it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration,
Ah, il y a
I've
du ciel.
engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance
Le
Bucket.
saut du réconfort.
You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding
Okay.
the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true.
Tant que
As
vous
long as you
portez le
hold on to the
saut.
bucket,
C'est
the
quoi tant
many
que vous portez le saut? Les
disorienting
nombreuses
contradictions
conditions
of the Stanley
déroutantes.
Parable will feel perfectly normal and
Je peux le
perhaps
prendre?
even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the
Ouais,
bucket is in
laisse-moi
your
le prendre.
arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket
On peut pas
is the
retourner au bouton
perfect
skip.
solution. Come on, give it a try.
Ah bah putain, c'est bon.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on.
Oui, mais je m'en fiche de ce que tu me
All this and
racontes.
more
Moi, je veux les voir, il y a d'autres
await you
trucs.
in the Stanley
Ils se foutent de
Parable
ma
2.
gueule, je sais.
Does anyone give out awards for most
Va voir du
enjoyable
merch.
bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Je peux pas. Il y a quoi que j'ai pas fait? Bah, le saut de réconfort, du coup, je viens de le faire. Décoration de bureau. That's new. Comment je vais là-haut, moi? Je sais pas. Le bouton qui dit gym. Ok.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley?
Épilogue.
Yes, it will go at the end of the well, we'll figure that out later.
Je me suis barré, je suis en mode gros, sinon. Ne casse pas les couilles. Succès gratuit, bah du coup, non. Paramètres champion du monde. Quoi? D'accord. C'est compris. Bah y'a quoi que j'ai pas fait? Y'a pas genre une petite salle où genre je pouvais me barrer? J'ai l'impression de dire beaucoup de fois le mot genre. Bah on va voir la carte. Alors... Free Achievement, le bouton qui... Ouais, merch, Setting World Champion, installer le saut je l'ai, décoration j'ai pas. Épilogue, collectible, trou infini et la sortie. Bah tiens, elle est où la sortie? Je suis ici. C'est pas là-bas la sortie? Je me souviens plus. Il me semble que j'avais déjà vu les sorties. Ça se trouve c'est là à gauche. Hein. Bah. Ah non, il a juste mis un toit.
Oh, for heaven. You see, I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much.
J'aime trop les trous.
A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there. Goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter to you this time?
Si.
I couldn't help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean,
Si, ça m'a paru plus
admittedly,
court.
I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above.
Oui.
Had enough? I'm positively thrilled. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Wow. Okay.
Ok, plus ça va, plus c'est court.
I'm
Je
starting
vais voir
to become
jusqu'où je peux aller.
extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite,
Mais non
but
seulement
that
pas
it
sans
grows
fond, mais que le
steadily
fond est
less
aussi de
and
moins
less
en moins
infinite.
profond.
I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for
Ça fait quoi
accountability
si
in
je
marketing.
continue
What's
de...
going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's
Oh
length.
putain.
Here,
Ça fait quoi
let's
si je
try
continue à
something.
chaque fois?
Let's pop back up to the top and we'll see if
S'il
it
peut
gets any
devenir encore
shorter.
plus petit. Bah
Well,
justement.
there it is. The shame of my lies. How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at
Ah mais
this
non,
depth,
je peux pas
I
sortir.
just can't
Je peux
see
mettre un
this
bouton pour
scratching
te
the itch.
déporter.
Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it
ça, le
is you're
trou.
here to do and hit the
C'est
teleport
nul.
button when you're ready to move on.
Je peux pas.
Is
Putain,
the,
bouffon.
teleport
No.
button not working?
Bah oui, il marche plus.
You sure?
Bah oui.
Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It's still nothing. Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye,
Hein?
Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more
Il se
time
barre?
with it than you
Non,
could ever
non,
have
il
asked
va...
for.
Non,
It's a
c'est bon, il va
win
pas
for
se barrer sans
everyone.
me laisser...
You get to
en
be
me
with
laissant
the
comme
hole.
ça.
I get to do literally anything
Laisse-moi...
else.
non, occupe-toi de
Take
moi.
care, Stanley.
Non, j'ai un
I
saut.
hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity.
Il se barre vraiment. Il va revenir quand même. Il y a des bruits, ok. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Pourquoi il y a une musique qui se lance? Ah! Le trou commence à s'enfoncer. Eh, voix off, reviens! Il y a de nouveau! Le trou, il s'enfonce! Au revoir! Oh. Et la voix off, elle est pas là? Putain. Bah, je suis sûr qu'elle va pas revenir pendant toutes ces jours. F change votre perspective. Oh. Ok, je suis obligé de rester comme ça. Comme ça, c'est bien. Moi, j'aime bien comme ça. J'ai changé votre perception. Ça change juste la musique, quoi. Bah... H change votre réalité. C'est n'importe quoi. Oh vas-y, je laisse comme ça. C'est trop drôle. Ouais. Youpi. Attends, c'est quoi? J change qui vous êtes. Oh. Là, je suis un robot. Là, je suis juste à l'envers. Ouais, là, je suis moche. Là, je suis ultra baraqué et en chemise. Là, c'est Binding of Isaac. Error, en mode Garry's Mode. Ouais. Y'a pas en version féminin? Ah non. Bah, je vais être comme ça.
Stanley? 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 Oh good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of
Il arrive au moment où il se passe n'importe quoi. Vous êtes lourdement dérivé. Ah, pas qu'un peu.
This hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake
C'est
for
bon.
every second of it. You don't want to miss a single
Ah mais je jure que se trouve c'est la meilleure chose.
I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really truly focused
Non
on
mais
the
j'étais
hole.
bien dans ce trou.
From the
Pourquoi
looks
tu
of
m'as
things,
réveillé?
you and I will have
C'était
many,
drôle.
many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley.
Ouais, c'est bien
I'll be
éveillé.
there.
Je reviendrai.
Toodle-pip.
Il se rebarre. Je suppose qu'il va se repasser la même chose, non? Ah non. Ah. Bah... Ah, je commence directement ici.
Here we are.
Me
Go
dis
on.
voilà, allez-y,
Try out
testez-moi
some
ces
of the
nouvelles
new
fonctionnalités.
features.
Bah non, en fait, je les ai déjà tous testés. J'ai juste envie de me barrer maintenant, ça commence à m'emmerder cet endroit. Comment je m'échappe? Mais je suis sûr, il y a un endroit exit. C'est quoi ça? Bah... C'est nul, je peux pas sauter. Mais il y avait une sortie quelque part. Bon, je sais plus où elle est. Sortie à gauche. Sortie, ok. C'est bon. J'avais fini ici. Putain, par contre, il y a des
Alright,
choses à
have you
faire.
seen everything you wanted to? Ready
Ouais.
to move on now?
Il y a un sac ici. Moi, c'est bon. J'ai vu tout ce que j'avais besoin de voir. Ah. Ah.
So,
Ah.
Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features?
C'est quoi
Yes, I
cet
know
endroit?
it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together
Qu'est-ce que
as
c'est?
one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience.
Qu'est-ce qu'il raconte?
Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you
Stanley
the
Parable 2.
Stanley Parable 2.
Oh, le bruit.
I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on.
Ouais.
Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating
préfère la
gags,
version
but they don't
une.
add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I
Mais
wanted
ça, c'est
fans
bien.
to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the
Mais c'est
original.
pas grave, l'Ultra
Wait,
Deluxe c'est pas
Maybe
mal.
that's it.
J'ai pas fait la
I can
version
take
normale.
the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
C'est quoi? Oh. Mais plus ça va, plus ça modifie mon jeu là. Je commence à jouer au jeu. Par contre, je peux plus revenir en arrière maintenant.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Cliquez pour
Stanley
passer.
worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room
Il y avait les ballons
427
qu'on
and
avait
he
choisi
pushed
tout à l'heure.
buttons
Enfin,
on the
choisi.
keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them.
Il est
and
trop
in
bien
what
ce jeu,
order.
j'adore.
This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year.
Je
And
pensais qu'il y
although
avait
others
plusieurs
might have
fins possibles et
considered it
qu'après,
soul
pouf, c'était
winning,
fini, mais finalement
Stanley
non, à
relished
chaque fois il y a
every
toujours des
moment
trucs qui
that the
reviennent.
orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change
Niveau 2, ça
Stanley.
y est les gars.
Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour.
C'est bon, c'est le
when he
2, il est
realized
enfin
that not
sorti.
one
C'est moi qui l'ai
single
fait à l'aide de la
error
voix
had
off.
arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong.
Quelque chose n'allait
Shocked,
pas.
frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the
Ah, mais c'est
longest
trop bien, attends.
time.
Je vais voir ce qu'il y a de
But
nouveau
as he
dans le
came
2
to his
maintenant.
wits and regained
Allez les
his
gars, on
senses,
teste le
he
nouveau.
got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Attends, je vais voir. Oh, le saut.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Il y a plein de nouveaux. C'est bon. Ils ont rajouté le saut, moi ça me va.
Stanley clutched
Bah,
the
j'ai
bucket
juste envie de
tightly
voir
to
du
his
coup l'histoire
chest
normale,
and entered
comment
the
ça se
door
déroule.
on his left.
Si je fais juste l'histoire normale,
Still no one was
est-ce que ça
here.
fait juste
Stanley
comme
needed the
ça
bucket's
l'histoire
warmth and
normale
comfort now more than ever.
ou d'un moment il va me
Perhaps
dire
his
t'as vu et
boss's
tout,
office
t'as
was where
n'importe
he'd
quoi.
find out. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's
Il a rajouté le
office.
saut du coup dans le nom.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soup. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck.
Par pure
Was
chance.
it that the bucket knew all along?
C'est le saut qui
Was the
l'avait.
bucket guiding
Parce que le
him?
saut le guidait.
Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
C'est le saut. J'ai le pouvoir du saut. C'est quand qu'il va rebriser le 4ème mur? Qui va me dire alors, t'en penses
The
quoi et
elevator
tout?
raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate.
Par un destin
It would be
inconnu.
all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Ouais, le saut est là pour moi.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind
Je veux juste
Control
voir ce que ça fait
Facility.
si je fais juste l'histoire normale.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with
Si j'avais su dans quoi je m'embarquais là
What
juste avant de
horrible
commencer le
secret
live.
did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both
incroyable.
wondered to themselves.
Tellement de choses à faire. Ça fait 2 heures, je suis sûr que j'ai même pas fait la moitié des trucs. Non, en vrai, je pense que j'en ai fait pas mal,
The
mais
monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly
énormément
dropped
de
the
choses à
bucket in
faire.
shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the
Au début,
bucket under the
je
mind
détestais la
control
voix, je me
facilities
disais, ouais,
influence
elle
as
est
well?
chiante et tout.
Had the bucket been told to do
Mais au
things
final,
it didn't
maintenant,
wish
c'est
to
devenu
do?
mon pote limite.
What kinds of things does a bucket
J'ai
want
qu'une
to
envie
do
qu'ils me disent
or not want to
ce
do
que j'en ai
in the
pensé.
first place? These questions raised
Parce que c'est
furious
ça les
in
potes,
Stanley's feeble mind.
c'est je fais ton truc et après je dis ce que j'en
No!
pense.
He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world.
Son seul ami au monde,
At
le
this
seau.
point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Je suis sûr il va faire un truc avec le seau en mode le seau lui dit de faire ça ou je sais
But
pas
here
quoi.
was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and
Mais du coup ça
commanded
fait
from
quoi
this very place.
si je fais
And as the cold
l'histoire
reality of his
normale?
past began to sink in, Stanley
Il se passe
decided
rien,
that
on est
this
d'accord?
machinery would... Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness.
Il va rien se passer.
Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth.
Faut l'éternuer dans
Both of
chaque
them
pays
wanted
du
to
monde.
begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support.
Je sais pas si je fais tout en vrai là. Attends.
What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed?
Quoi?
An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave.
Quoi?
Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths.
Mais non!
with the bucket.
Non, je dois rester à la lumière. Non!
Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.